Alright, I wanted to do something kind of red scary today, so I'll try this one. So, following the success of the Cuban Revolution on the 26th of July and the 26th of July movement, which assumed power in Havana, and began to really revise the country's foreign policy. Many of its leading members, including the charismatic Fidel Castro, believed that Cuba had a special place as the vanguard for international revolutionary movements, and began to really pursuing the active support of revolutionaries in other countries. Castro's interest in revolutionary causes actually extended beyond Cuba's shores. That's to say, like Latin America, the Caribbean, stuff like that. As he had previously participated in the 1948 Bogontazo riots and was sympathetic towards the anti-government forces in the Dominican Republic, or the República de Dominica. And of course, he supports revolution abroad, thus becoming an integral part of the radical new Cuban regime's policy. Long before embraced socialism or even diplomatic relations with the Soviet Union. Approximately 1,000 Cubans fought in Spain from 1936 to 1939 in the Spanish Civil War. Nearly all of them were of communist ranks of the International Brigades, and I would assume they would fight for the Republicans, right? Just a hunch, just a hunch. But, so on the 24th of April 1959, about 90 militia, including a number of Cuban revolutionaries, landed in Panama during the short-lived attempt to overthrow the country's government. Whether to say it was a left-wing or right-wing government was not to be sure, but they did help. The expedition failed and they were arrested after the skirmish with the Panamanian National Guard, or the Guardia Nacional de Panama. Anyway, Castro would later state, and Castro held the belief that the expedition had not been carried out without his foreknowledge, and denied all involvement, plausible deniability, saying that they were just enthusiastic Cubans, man. I don't know nothing about that, man. That is not my thing, man. This led to the establishment of the so-called Panama President, by which the Cuban government agreed that its support for revolution would not be supplanted or even superseded relations with other countries that were otherwise friendly in the case of Panama, or even hostile. Plausible deniability all the way forever and now, amen. Plus, I mean, Cuba was already the black sheep of the Caribbean, so plausible deniability all the way. However, Castro actually reserved the right to intervene in any country plagued by tyranny or even despotism, or despotism, or despotism, or whatever you like to call it, right? Anyway, Cuba has now gone to the stage of international relations, and now the first place to go is Africa. So the FRA, or the Revolutionary Armed Wing of Cuba, the FAR is basically army, right? So the FAR officially recognized 5 military interventions in Cuba. One would be in Algeria, Syria, the Congo, Angola, and Ethiopia. However, other sources expand the list, including Nicaragua. So now the list really would expand from not just military support, but also would include sending the Cuban military personnel as regular forces, recognized as belligerents between the states. Also military interventions had been added separately for coup purposes, and then there's medical personnel, technical personnel, advisors, air-to-air, SAM operators, stuff like that, and heavy equipment, manufacturing, government agencies, propping up secret police, stuff like that, right? Our first list is the San Juan. So the San Juan in Algeria was the first intervention of Cuban armed forces in foreign territory. So Cuba sent 686 men, a battalion of 22 tanks, artillery, and some mortar groups, and a battery of anti-tank guns. 1973 to 1974. So during the War of Attrition from November 1973 to May 1974, that was followed by the Yom Kippur War of October 1973. What? The War of Attrition and the Yom Kippur War are the same war. Anyway, Syria requested military aid from Cuba, and the Cuban government sent two brigades that participated in combat operations against the Israeli army. And there was also the Soviet airlift as well, but that is Soviet. So from 1975 until 1991, so regular Cuban forces entered Angola in a mission called Operaciono de Carlota, or Operation Cartola, in support of the communist government, and participated in the Angolan Civil War and the South African border war by proxy. So there is a proxy and a proxy, right? So Cuban troops supported by Soviet logistics and Soviet, advisors, and using sophisticated Soviet weapons defeated South African armed forces, or Sefifricon armed forces, in conventional warfare. So Cuban troops also defeated the FNLA and UNITA armies, and also established the MPLA's control over most of Angola. Cuban troops allegedly committed atrocities in Angola as well, including the big bad rape, looting, napalming of civilians with Russian-made rockets, and other war criminal stuff in the Cold War. So, of course, the FNLA and UNITA were also accused of war crimes. So, this is not a very leveled thing against Cuba, okay? But anyway, Cuban troops were also stationed in Pointe Noire, or Black Point, in the Republic of the Congo, with the mission of supporting units in Cambina in Angola as well. And I believe the Republic of the Congo was the communist one, not Zaire. It was the one, it had a communist government, so that makes sense. This one I want to cover, but just, since it's part of the, thing, during the Ogaden War. So during the Ogaden War, 16,000 Cuban troops armed and supported Moscow and entered into Ethiopia to support the Ethiopian Socialist Government, the DREG, or the DERG, and also helped to defeat an invasion force and the invasion force of the Somalians. So in relation and in retaliation with the Somali invasion, Cuban-Ethiopian forces directed by Soviet generals like Grigory Gorogovici Varoshi and Vasily Ivanovich Petrov launched a counterattack in early February 1978, accompanied by a second attack that the Somalis did not even expect. So a column of Ethiopian and Cuban troops crossed the northeastern highlands between Jiga Jiga and the border with Somalia of the Highland Pass, bypassing the SNAW SLF forces, defeating them at the Midjura Pass. So now the MiL Mi-6 helicopters airlifted Cuban BMD-1s and ASU-57 armored vehicles behind enemy lines. So now the attackers were thus able to assault them from two directions in a pincer action, allowing for the recapture of Jiga Jiga in only 2 days, while killing 3,000 defenders. The Somali defense collapsed, and every major Somali-occupied town was actually recaptured in the following weeks. So the last significant Somali attack and unit left Ethiopia on the 15th of March 1978, marking the end to the Ogaden War. So the Somali army, which had taken a severe beating from the Cuban artillery and even their aerial assaults, was destroyed as a fighting force. A large Cuban contingent remained in Ethiopia after the war to protect the socialist government from any other perceived attacks, but the presence of a large number of Cuban soldiers with a very low pay and easygoing Caribbean sexual habits led to unfortunate incidents with Ethiopian women. And I guess you could, picture something with that. Anyway, 1979 to 1990, the Sandinista Revolution in Nicaragua. So the Cuban state sent military personnel who took control over the Nicaraguan military security and intelligence services. Failed invasions. Alright, 1959. Failed expedition to Panama, like I said before, in order to start a revolution and revolutionary movement in the country. They were arrested after the skirmish with the Panamanian National Guard, asking where these Cuban people came from. And Fidel Castro was like, not me, man. Not me, man. 1959, again, failed expedition to the Dominican Republic, or the República de Dominica, so we don't mix up the pirate flag with the Spanish one. So to overthrow the government in the alliances with the Dominican exiles, the 10 Cuban and 200 Dominican exiles were massacred just hours after disembarking. I think that is foreshadowing, but on the other side. So, last one. So in 1963 and 1967, failed expeditions to Venezuela in order to overthrow the government together with the Venezuelan exiles, including Manchurato, or the Manchurato incident, which the Venezuelan government repelled the invasion by destroying the Cuban artillery installed in Venezuelan islands. Interesting. Anyway, I believe that is me. I'm going to go to the kitchen and learn something. The end.
La familia mía en particular, el padre mío en particular, sabía la misión específica que yo iba a cumplir. La madre no lo sabía. Después que yo salí de Cuba, él se iba a encargar de informarse.
¿La familia sabía que usted iba a combatir para Angola?
No. Nuestra familia pensaba que nosotros íbamos para la Unión Soviética, para no alarmarla, porque sabíamos la situación que existía en Angola. Entonces nosotros le dijimos que íbamos para la Unión Soviética a estudiar.
¿Y en los casos de ustedes?
Igual, lo mismo. Mi familia sabía que iba para la Unión Soviética a estudiar, no para la Angola. ¿Sabe? Porque le escribí de aquí para allá, que estoy en Angola, estando en el hospital. Ahora, últimamente, no estuve.
La moral de la tropa de la MPLA está entre buena y regular. ¿Dado por qué? Por la falta de conocimientos militares que poseen.
¿Y la su opinión?
Casi coincide con la de él. Es regular por la falta de conocimientos militares, pero es una moral que va en ascenso, o sea, que va ascendiendo, que va adquiriendo conciencia del porqué de las cosas.
¿Y la su opinión?
La misma. Es decir, por la falta de conocimiento del arte militar es que tienen una moral regular al combatir, producto de que comienzan ahora, no tienen conciencia de lo que es las cosas, es decir, una cosa que va en ascenso.